Kamusta kaibigan? Welcome to Create Anytime, Create Anywhere, the challenge of being creative. And I am Misha, your host for tonight. So, in this series presented by ASUS and Microsoft, we look at how experts of the creative industry have tackled the dynamic and ever changing landscape, honing the craft towards success and fueling the ride into a curious future. So, speaking of experts and being dynamic, ACES Expert Series recently launched a new product that can help our creative professionals to create anything, anywhere, especially at your home. So it's the ACES Pro Art Studio Book Series that's ideal for designers on the go. Or if you're at home, then it's also for the home. So it's as powerful and efficient as your bulky PCs, but good thing is that it is thin and portable so you can carry it wherever you are. So whether you're a graphic designer, architect, producer, whatever creative you are, this might be for you. So you want to check it out and learn more about each variant that fits for your designer needs. So you can check out ASUS Philippines website to see which Pro Art Studio Book is perfect for you. So the ASUS Pro Art Studio Book, the agile mobile workstation, is perfect for the creative industry, is now available in the market. So you can check out our Philippines e-store, Shopee, Lazada, saktong-sakto. Everybody's like online doing, shopping. So you can check that out. So stay tuned also at the end of this webinar as we have a special announcement from ASUS Philippines and ASUS Expert Series. So don't forget to hit the like button and of course use the hashtags that we have. So joining us we have a great set of panelists from different fields, and I'm very excited to introduce you to them. So these people will also be sharing their work so there might be audio and you might want to adjust your settings. But anyway, now let's begin. We have our first panelist. Let's all welcome Robert Alejandro. He was an artist since birth. So hello, Robert. And
Hello, good evening. Hi,
Good
Misha.
evening.
I love the outfit and the background as well.
So
Very artsy
colorful.
talaga. Oo, I love it. So
Mine's
as you can
boring.
tell, no, grabe ka naman. Minimalism yan.
Oo nga eh.
So, like I said, Robert Alejandro is a painter, a crafter, and if you guys are familiar with Papa Melrotti, he is one of the pillars of that brand. So, he's also the founding member of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan or Ang Inc., which is an organization of children's book illustrators. So, if you guys are really interested to get into that business or industry, you know who to ask, right? So, like I said, also, he is a host in this television show, which is Art is Cool. And he's also formerly one of the correspondents for the Probe team. So, there you go, guys. It's Robert Alejandro.
Hello, good
So,
evening, everybody.
Hi.
so next off, we have Art Serrano from 10 Design Co. Hello,
Hello.
Art.
Hi,
What's
hi.
up? So
Hello.
the 10 Design Co. is actually an architecture studio based in Escolta. So if you come to think of it, the first thing you might think of is like heritage and culture. So that's what a lot of what their work is focused on. So this team is led by Art Serrano of the University of Santo Tomas, and he has received various recognition for its work in city planning, public space activation, interior design, and heritage regeneration. So the studio is also known in involvement in developing alternative uses for heritage buildings in Manila and work with commercial, retail, restaurant, and urban activation projects. So hello again, Arts.
Hi, hi.
Sakto,
Hello,
Arts
everyone.
talaga, no? Diba? Who knew? So next up,
Prophetic yung parents niya.
we have ang ganda nun. How you wish, diba? So next off, we have Patrick Cabral, twinning with a hat,
Hello.
who's also a multidisciplinary artist and designer based in Manila. So his flexibility to master different artistic skill set had open opportunities to work on different projects and clientele. So we got local and international. So we have Hallmark, Adobe, Sage Meister and Walsh, Tatley, Havianas, and Magnum Ice Cream, to name a few. But he's most popularly known for working with Starbucks. So being the first Filipino artist to have released a line of merchandise. So Patrick will actually show you some of the merchandise he has designed for Starbucks. And he has also had this campaign back in 2018 called The New Strong, defined by his dedication to his craft and work ethic, which represents one of the new definition of strength in Starbucks campaign. So the second one, he also had another one, where Starbucks had commissioned three sculptures comprised of animal heads. So Patrick will tell us all about that later as well, and I won't give you too much details about that. But if you know or if you've been to the Starbucks Reserve branch at SM North Towers, then you probably might have seen that already. So hello again. And lastly, we
Hello.
have with our minimal background, we have Cabral, Titanium Design Studio. So she's the rose out of the many thorns here right now. So initially started out as design department of Arcanium Construction Inc., its core business circumnavigates around technical designs used for construction. So we're talking about architectural drawings, interior design layout, and engineering plans. So this branched out and became its own entity, having its own business structure and autonomous functions. But Chelsea will actually be showing something really interesting that you wouldn't even think about na gagawin niya. Kasi you think, oh, design. So ano kaya? What is her surprise? We will find out later. But before we get started, don't forget to like the ASUS for Business Facebook page. And of course, use our hashtags ASUS Pro Art Studio Book and ASUS Expert Book. So don't forget, we have a special promo for our viewers and check out the comments for the links. So, guys, are you ready? Are you ready for this? So,
Yes, let's
Yeah.
do it.
we're just
Yes.
going to be storytelling here. So you want to see the artist out of their box from the office and now just sharing the space with everybody else here in the digital world. So, first question is, what are the things you have created since the lockdown? I mean, we're so used to going to the office or to work like Mondays to Fridays, and now we're at home. So, how are you able to create in your current environment? Robert, might want to start?
I remember the very, very first day of the lockdown. I thought it was bad news. It was not a good situation. And since I work with children, uh, I thought of giving an online art workshop, a
Oh,
regular one, so that a routine could be made for the children, and then it would be a great opportunity for me to teach art and so many other things.
wow.
So from the very first day of the lockdown, I was giving an art workshop, and that proved very um, popular, which was very strange because I'm not a very techie person, so I had to learn from scratch. I was
Yeah.
very nervous, but until now, I still do it.
But you're
Yeah.
doing great. You're doing great. Tsaka iba talaga when you're doing it kasi face to face with the children versus doing it online eh. Parang,
Hands-on thing. Yeah.
oo, di ba?
It's completely different, pero iba rin siya talaga. Honestly, since I've been doing it for more than 5 months now,
Mhm.
magkakilala na kami ng mga bata. We know each
Aw,
other by
ang ganda.
name. We have private jokes. It's
Wow.
and then
Wow.
the best part is I can see the development of the children with their art. It's mind blowing.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'm sure their parents are also proud for actually putting them
Yeah,
to that, you know, like because at school, like everything is already online then, so have, keep them productive pa rin kahit papaano. Oh my God, that's very cool.
It's really great.
Love it.
thank
How
you.
about you? How about you, Art? What have you been doing?
Uh, Actually, I think I can speak for everyone.
Mhm.
When they told us about the lockdown, parang hindi natin in-expect na September na. We're still
Oh
in
my
this kind of
God.
like confused state. So
No,
parang, di ba, it's
unfortunately.
really unfortunate. Pero when the lockdown started back in March, parang there was some sort of denial, I guess, as a creative. Parang everyone was still grasping at some form of the normal that we used to have, and then parang
Mhm.
thinking na saan ba tayo pupunta after nito. And
Oo.
then we started working off-site, work from home, as everyone has been doing for the projects na ginagawa namin before. But come April, we realized na, this really isn't
Iba na
going
talaga.
anywhere. Parang mag-iiba talaga yung mga, like, everything we've been designing before the lockdowns, parang totally different na siya after all of this. So we just had to take a break for a while. Tapos, come around June to August, we slowly started to go back to work. Some of the things that we were working on before, like offices in Makati and in Cebu, we had to revisit them. Kasi, of course, designing, you can imagine designing for offices
na
in
yung
this
culture.
landscape. Mag-iiba talaga yung culture, definitely. And yun, so we're working on those now, kind of refining, thinking how the office design can progress and adapt to this new normal that we have, for the lack of a better term for it. So yun, we're just all adapting, I guess, with all of the changes that's happening.
Like also as you guys as being architects and all, like it's a challenge. Like you actually learn now every day because iba na lahat.
Yeah, it's really difficult to
put yourself out of the box.
Yeah, ang hirap mag-isip na parang as a designer, you have to know all of the answers eh. Pero in this moment, we don't really know the answers. And parang it's exciting but also very scary on like both ends of the spectrum. So exciting time siya, but also we have to be very mindful about how this can affect everyone.
Really careful.
Ikaw naman, Patrick, how have you been doing?
I think I'm quite fortunate kasi until now it's like business as usual pa rin sa studio eh.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I've been working from home for I think 13 years now. So there isn't any real change talaga. So basically my current setup is tailor-made for events like this. So wala masyado pinagbago. But the thing is this year should have been like a big change for us as well kasi we're actually planning to expand the studio, like rent a warehouse because we're starting to get bigger commissions, bigger installation arts. So it has to, actually may mga client kami na nag-cancel eh. So it has to pause for now.
Mahirap
but
talaga.
Buti naman tuloy pa rin yung pasok ng private commissions. But I think the biggest problem na we're facing during the pandemic is actually shipping the artworks. Especially now we have to, set a space sa studio para any person who's shipping the artwork na papasok sa bahay namin, alam mo hindi magkalat ng virus sa bahay. So yun yung parang tricky na situation ngayon. And actually coordinating with shipping agents masyadong mahirap eh.
Ang dami na ship ngayon.
Tapos pamahal din ng pamahal yung shipping fee. I think now every month we receive message na magtataas na naman yung price ng shipping. So yun.
The risk is very high.
Yes. And syempre matatakot ka rin eh kasi you don't know how long this thing is going to last and until when is the client going to have money to pay you eh. Kasi kahit nag-commit na yung client sa commission, hindi mo naman sure kung by the time na matapos mo yung project, may pera pa rin sila to pay for you, di ba? So, yun.
It's really struggling.
Yes. And you have to, like, try to adapt to what's happening then. And yun, parang, right now, parang masyadong maliit yung studio, so I have to think of things na I have to do during the pandemic. So I started actually learning how to sew. So nag-aaral akong manahe.
Wow.
Actually, bought like 3 sewing machines now. And
wow!
So yun yung ginagawa namin ngayon. Because I've been getting collab requests with a lot of like big fashion brands all over the world. And I don't want to give my designs away through the studio. So iniisip ko, kung pwede kong gawin on my own, I'll just do it. And the funny thing about it is, the hard part now is actually sourcing out fabrics. Tapos
hirap na lumabas eh. You have to feel it and see everything.
Yep. I spend a lot of money in Shopee, like buying fabrics from
I think we all
over the world. Pagdating dito, ang pangit pala ng
hindi nakapos yung fabric eh.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Oh my God.
And also, you realize na like doing your own clothes now is actually more expensive than buying it. Pag bumaba ka, super mura na ng mga damit sa mall
At
ngayon.
least kasha, as in perfect size para sa'yo, di ba?
Yes.
That's a good thing. And you can control the designs. Thank
So,
you. How about you, Chelsea? What have you been
Mhm.
working on right now?
Actually, it's kind of same with arts because we're a construction and design firm.
Mhm.
So from that kind of setup, we had to restructure because all of the projects in the construction side were kind of put into a halt, and most of our projects were based on malls.
Oh,
So dun pa lang medyo mahirap na because all of the malls they started closing, and
yeah.
then our projects had to stop. So we thought of just focusing more on design, and why not separate the design part totally and exploring more of what we love. So the isolation thing really helped. It's not
Really?
a good in a good way, but
Huh?
it's something I keep remembering because I'm just sitting in my room and I'm just working on my desk, but I don't feel inspired. But I think that was the turning point wherein I started to just design my whole room and actually showcase that.
Oh,
No, but through 3D, of course. I couldn't do
okay
it.
lang yan. It's still
Yeah.
fun, you know,
Yeah, it's
playing
fun
fountain.
exploring. Yeah, and because of that, we decided to do this campaign called the creativity cannot be quarantined. So, during isolation, I discovered that it's really all in the artist's mind. Like there's really no stopping you from even creating and
Yeah.
creating. So I was just in my desk and I figured everything I'm doing is in my laptop, so why not share it? So and another challenge was actually being more vocal on social media because I find myself as a kind of introvert on social media because I'm
Okay.
being too worked up with work, so I get really lazy posting things. I don't post much, so I think it's really important that we get to be more socially active online. So
Yes, I guess it helps
it's
also younger creatives, no?
yeah, and it's a way that I get to it's stepping up more. You really have to step up more and explore more of the things that you never knew you had. So
Oh,
it's more of a self-reflection and more of discovering your potentials these days. It's you'll never know what you can do if you don't try. So
parang ang hirap kasi ngayon maging just one expert on one thing. Like
yeah,
now, isolation,
you
you're
have to
more
adapt.
able to
yes.
explore, to adapt, di ba? So,
Yes, definitely.
love it. At least you guys are really going out of your box with, not just professionally, but also with your personal growth then.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's it.
So, next question, guys. So, what are the particular tools that emerged that you were not using before or you're using differently now? What's new? Anong bago ngayon? Like art, you can start.
Well, ako personally, parang I still have a studio working from home, and right now, di ba, I don't want my staff to go to work or parang trek yung streets natin ngayon with all of this uncertainty. I don't want to endanger them in that sense. So parang everyone from my team is working from home. Napilitan kami. I'm pretty old school. I hate Viber and Telegram.
Same.
I hate talking sa mga apps na yan. I get confused ano ba yung ginagamit ngayon ng mga ano. But
Ang dami na.
we all have to adapt. So right now, very active yung Google Calendar ko.
Oo.
Everything's really scheduled from the moment we get to the office at 9 a.m. 6 p.m., stop na yung work. I don't want you guys working on anything. Ito lang yung work natin. I limit yung time ng staff ko working ng Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays kasi parang it can get overwhelming working from
True.
home.
Work from
Parang
home, you know the
the
time na, di ba?
yeah, I think parang psychologically blurred na yung lines mo between like living and working on something. So there has to be a clean delineation for me. So we work lang ng Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Tapos we have virtual offices set on those days on Google Calendar. Tapos I'm always online doon. Tapos they can just go in. Tapos parang if they want to consult on something, they can ask me there. Tapos yun, I think generally everything is digital now.
Oh,
Parang all of the
naman.
transactions, all of the coordinations before, which is good, I guess. Parang it's a long time
Mas
coming, I
organized
think.
din siya. Oo.
Oo, parang I guess now with the pandemic, we were all forced to kind of be more efficient with our time.
Tama, tama. Ikaw, Patrick, kasi, for example, for arts, he's more, hindi sila sanay. Ikaw, sanay ka na with, always being at home. So, how has that been doing that for you? Did you learn, use new things right now?
Right now, we're actually working on this big art installation for Dubai Expo
Wow, oh
na
my God.
na-move to next year. So we
Uh-huh.
have to coordinate with suppliers then kasi I'm not actually the one who's building the, half of the installation art. So I had to go back to 3D modeling again. And then at the same time with this, fashion design / sewing, parang ginagawa ko ngayon. When I went, kasi hindi, parang ang hirap ngayon mag-put up ng, or mag-shift to fashion design, which I've been like thinking for a long time talaga na to actually branch out into fashion design. Na parang it's almost impossible to have like a fashion show now. So I decided to
Pwede
learn,
pa rin. Virtual.
virtual. So
Or 3D.
I started learning Clo 3D and Marvelous Designer. And the good thing that's happening now in the 3D world is before most of these clothes that you see on games are being created by mostly technicians. And now softwares are actually adapting to artists. Like the way you create patterns in the real world is the same way that you create patterns now for clothes
Wow,
in
magandang
the
collab
virtual
yan.
world. So yeah, so parang yun yung parang nakita kong bago ngayon na it's more experiential. Kasi I feel like for the past years, people has been complaining na walang soul yung digital art. Diba? Like a lot of traditional artists are always saying that. But now it's almost impossible to say that kasi we're actually employing the same process ng real world crafting into the digital world. And it's not limited only to fashion design. Ang daming aspect din na kung paano natin ginagawa yung particular project ng by hand. Now there's actually a digital counterpart na. So, it's actually really, engaging to
That's
go back
really
to
opening
digital.
lots of doors for
Yes.
younger creatives. Like if you're not sure pa, like if you have both the talent in digital arts as well as
Yes.
fashion, why not combine them, diba? I mean, it's not going to retail. You have other things that you can also do.
Yeah. And I think because of the current situation then, mas pinapabilis kaya na this should have been like what? Like few years from now pa mangyayari ng mga to. Pero ngayon parang napupush na agad siya ng maaga kasi we're confined to our
we're forced
small
to
spaces.
adapt.
No choice.
Yes.
But at least we get to do new stuff and put together things we've never imagined of, diba? How about you, Chelsea? What have you been exploring?
I've been exploring more on the marketing side and how to even market myself and as an interior designer. And I've been exploring on also video editing, something I haven't even done. And before I used to do my 3D renders just in still photos, but once I discovered, doing walkthroughs, it kind of opened doors for me. Like, wow, I can make things move. So animation was a really good thing for me is I was really excited to work on and I was excited to learn more. So I did some new programs, I did some video editing, and I really had to learn Instagram even more because I barely post. So I had to study the whole social media thing again, and
It changes all
like
the time pa.
yeah, it's literally stepping out of my comfort zone because I realize how important it is to be more socially active. Even if I consider myself like a low maintenance person, it's really important these days because you don't get to see much people, you don't get to communicate with them personally. So everything really has to grow online, and you have to establish yourself. And another thing that was really bothering me because I'm just starting off, it's more of your confidence with your work because you get to compare yourself with other artists.
Dami na kasing artist ngayon.
Super competitive, and you just have to take a step back and, go back to your roots, realize the meaning of all this, and put more purpose into your work. So it really
Yeah.
comes with passion, no matter what. I really stick my mind into my passion, even if people would say that you're not doing so much, or they really don't know the grind.
Yeah,
So
they don't know what's behind the
yeah. So with that, so people don't see the grind. You really have to showcase that. Also, people really have to see them online. So it's very important to be more socially active online and post more and think of new things you can create. You'll never know.
business.
So
Like,
there.
pwede rin, like, mas may purpose yung pag-posting mo, lalo na
Yeah,
how you're studying with marketing and all. Ang hirap
yeah,
na nangyayari, di ba?
you
Like,
have to, you have to stay relevant. Then
oo, but still be, like, inspiring din and
yeah,
challenging yourself.
and it's really challenging because I need to step up more, but at the same time, I don't want to do too much
Oo,
because I want to stay private, but I want my work to speak for myself. So,
mahirap yan. Mahirap
yeah,
yan. For other artists, like, let's say musicians, it's quite difficult to erase.
yeah.
Oo. Wow.
So,
How
yeah.
about you, Robert naman? What have you been doing new?
Yung pagbabago sa akin talaga is this Zoom, these
The whole
meetings
thing.
online,
Oo,
everything nga is in Viber, Messenger, and then you don't know saan nga ba sila nag-message sa Gmail, sa Viber,
ang dami na.
na litong-lito ka na. But what I really love about it is my meetings are yun nga online, and I didn't realize I've spent so much time pala commuting to client
Oo,
meetings. I would leave the
Uh,
house so early and
oo,
go home so late. But now, my client meetings are online. So, ang bilis-bilis. Tapos, wala
kahit
na.
half ano lang suot mo.
uh,
So, I actually enjoy this
setup.
very online meetings. I get a lot of things done
Yes.
Oo,
because of
definitely.
all the no commuting. Um, and then aside from that, our Pape Melroti is in Shopee, in Lazada.
Perfect.
We have online. So that wasn't a stretch because we've been doing that even before the pandemic.
Oh,
So the biggest talaga is I don't spend so much time commuting anymore.
that's really,
Save a
that's
lot of money too.
time, traffic, di ba? Lesser na. Pero pan dati, parang sanay pa tayo na we only use like Zoom to talk to our family and friends. At ngayon, puro meetings na. Di ba? Nakakaloka na. Wow. Thanks, guys. So, of course, you each have your own design philosophy. So, during this quarantine, what has changed over the past few months? Patrick may want to start.
For me, nothing has changed talaga eh. Like since I grew up from the province, I basically grew
Where
up
did you come from? What province ka?
Camarines Sur.
Wow! Saya.
Yes.
Parang ang sarap bumalik doon.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yun, since I grew up in the province, I grew up without any restrictions. Eh. Like for us, like a designer and an artist is basically the same eh. Wala siyang classification talaga eh. Like an artist sa bayan namin is the same guy na gumagawa ng poster sa, sinehan, the same guy na gumagawa ng mga billboards. And at the same time, you'll find out that they're the same guys who own tailoring business or making cabinets. So I think that's the difference of my practice from other designers or artists because since I grew up without any classification, parang I just let creativity lead the way eh. And by that like it's always like may north talaga eh. Kahit deadline na pag may naisip ako na isang bagay na I get curious, kahit deadline na talaga
Oo.
pipilitin kong parang mag-debate sa schedule ko just to follow my curiosity and creativity. So yun talaga.
Wow.
I think the difference is actually not having any restriction on what I want to do, be it art or design.
Oo. You become more resourceful pa nga eh, actually,
Yes.
di ba?
And even with my work, it shows it with my work then if you really think about it. Like I'm known to do like paper art now, like it's
Mhm.
contemporary art, people would say, diba? But if you
Oh,
think about it, it's more closer to doing architectural work because everything is, measured, everything is quantified, diba? Like the
oh,
output looks like an art, but the process is actually more engineering and
Technical.
architecture.
oh, you have to think about all of the different how it affects the user, 'di ba? The design and all.
Yeah, and it's a big part then when you go into things without any restriction because there's no rules eh. Like parang okay, I can do everything na maisip kong gawin. So yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's actually fun. Especially, uh, you're just so curious, parang hindi mo maisip, baka weird, pero yung pala, it might work out well, di ba? You wouldn't
Yes.
know if you don't try. Oh. How about you, Chelsea?
For me, it's like I said, it's actually more of expressing more. It's part of my design philosophy now. And I've also gone through self reflection and, how to be more socially adaptive. I wouldn't say that I'm really an introvert, but I love
Mm.
talking to people personally. I love going to meetings. I love talking to clients and going to their, homes and actually knowing them even more. But everything just goes through Viber and then they send pictures of their house. So,
Oo. Hindi mo
it's
ramdam
really
yung vibe.
different.
Oo.
Yeah, it's really different. And I also want to, keep reminding myself to be more confident with the work that we're doing and then no pressure because I we in interior design in Arcanum Design Studio, we're just starting off. So I don't want to pressure myself, but also acknowledge all the things that I'm going through. So
Oo.
it's more like what Patrick said about exploring. It's one thing that you're an artist and also a designer. It's also the same thing, but because of my work being too hectic and being too overloaded with the actual work, I tend to forget that I'm also an artist.
Oo.
So because of that, I get to be restricted also with the things that I'm doing. So I keep it to myself that I don't get to do the things that I love anymore. So
Oo.
it has to be a balanced way
Keep
of,
rooted pa rin.
yeah, you need to keep hold of the things that you once loved doing. And then also remember that everything that you're doing doesn't have to satisfy anyone because art is an expression. So it's
Oo.
very important for us artists to keep reminding ourselves of the things we love doing and to be more passionate with the
Or
things
what
that we're
keeps you
doing.
sane, 'di ba? Kasi
Mm.
something
Yeah,
stress you out. So what are
yeah,
things, 'di ba, that you can do?
yeah, exactly. And it as designers, we become more technical, so it's more restrictive, and then you have to follow your clients' wants. But how about also what you want? You don't get to express them
Oo.
anymore. So it's a good thing that we started off design studio doing those things, and in a span of how many months we were able to produce so many content. So it's amazing how much you can do
Marketing na
when
lang.
you're more inspired. It's great.
Aw. How
Yeah.
about you, Arts?
Um, ano ba? I think most of our philosophy really hasn't changed. Like Patrick, if I can maybe pull up one of our projects in
Oh, go
Bataan.
ahead, please. I think
So
everybody would
this
like to
project
hear
we did in Bataan, it's a mixed-use commercial building. It's for a yoga studio, technically.
that. Wow.
It's another one. Can we move to the next? Yeah, it's this one. So this project kind of reflects a lot of our philosophy. So yung process namin is really about architecture not just being about the physical manifestation of it,
Mhm.
but also about the stories that the client wants to tell. So it's more a mix of narrative building and a balance of applying functions that the client wants to be programmed in the space.
Oo.
So as architects, parang expected na ng mga tao na we understand how these structures would work. But
Oo.
what really would set a building apart is how it tells the story.
Oh,
And
how
that's,
each person can relate to it
yeah,
best.
can relate to it then. So that project kind of played around with light kasi the client's middle name is Luces. So Luces in Spanish means light.
Wow,
Tapos
ang
we
galing.
tried to play around with geometries that you find in nature. We tried to understand kung ano yung ginagawa nila sa brand nila and then used that information in applying it into manifestations of the architecture. So with this, we played around with the basic geometry in nature, which is an equilateral triangle, and then we multiplied it 3,200 times to form the roof canopy. Tapos, yeah, I think most of the language that we applied here kind of stemmed from that basic narrative building. They wanted to play around with light, and this is like ways that we can play around with it through the architecture. So yun,
Something so simple, no, can be so sophisticated, eh. Like you said, nga, they're just made up of like one shape, and you just multiply it by so much, and now you have something na bang Instagram picture na na-imagine ka na.
that's one thing I really hate
Diba?
when people approach me tapos they say na, oh, I want an Instagrammable wall. Parang they don't get na it doesn't
It's not
work
just
like
like that
that.
easy.
Parang
Oo.
it has to be something that people can connect to. So
Oo.
when the space kind of resonates with people, parang mafe-feel nila na, oh, I need to share this kasi parang it made me
Yeah.
feel something. So I think yun yung important talaga when you
Not
do
as aesthetic.
spaces. Yeah, and it's not about the aesthetics, but more about what the space wants to tell and how it wants to connect with people.
I think a lot of younger artists should also understand that, because usually sanay lang tayo na, oh, pag maganda yung design, it might work, but we don't really know, does it actually work for you? Does it
Yeah.
work for those around you, di ba? That's interesting insights. I love it. Ikaw naman, Robert, what's the change? Anything changes?
Actually, like Patrick and Chelsea, my design philosophy hasn't really changed. I love what Chelsea said. She said, creativity cannot be quarantined. I love that.
But don't you think, ano,
And so, yes, my philosophy.
but don't you think, Kuya Robert, na
Sorry?
sometimes it feels like, as an artist working in the Philippines, you're basically quarantined from the rest of the world.
Super true.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just quarantine. It's the Philippines.
Forever
The whole damn
quarantined.
Forever quarantine.
5 months quarantine.
When will this end?
In my work, it's always excellence in design, always striving for the best design that I can do. But it's funny, even though I strive for excellence, after I get nga all the, the functionality, all the plans and all these things, after that, I want to have fun. Fun is a big factor in my design philosophy. If I don't have fun, I don't want to do it. So, and it shows in my work as well. So that hasn't really changed.
Oh, that's good. It's so difficult then to, always incorporate fun when you're so thinking like, ala, yung mga bills and all of that.
Yeah.
Work kasi
I
siya
don't
eh.
think about that.
Yeah, especially when you think about it as work. It's
I
different
actually
when you think
relate
about
to
it as work.
I actually relate a lot to Kuya Robert kasi we're basically like the Peter Pan of designers. Eh. So we're allowed to play, just play
A
for
lot
a
of
long
us
time.
are.
Nasa Neverland ka, di ba?
Correct.
Love it.
Guys, I mean, for our viewers then, if you have questions or you want to share your insights, feel free. Our panelists would probably love to answer these questions as well. Yes. But while we
Some
were
of
thinking
the comments, so
Oo. Okay, let's actually check right now. Did anyone ask? Well, wow, ito pa nga yung isa eh. Cutie mo po, architect art.
Itago na ako. I'm gone.
Oh. Actually, a lot of people love your campaign actually, Chelsea. Pang quotes siya eh. Masarap gawing quote yan. You hang it on the wall or something, di ba?
Yeah. Sobrang eye-opener talaga na naisip namin. It's really, for artists talaga in the Philippines, I can relate to everyone that, we're being like kind of the underdog sometimes. And then especially for my profession, like, oh my God, we've been shoved off like twice by big companies. Like, anyone can be an interior designer. It's not like that. So they're thinking that designing and decorating are always the same thing. So when we speak of design, it's more of the technical thing, also the decorating thing. But how about the technical process? They don't really see that. So whenever people are posting about their rooms and then they're saying that, oh, I'm an interior designer, I put this mirror over here, this thing here. They're not speaking of design, they're speaking of decorating. So we don't
Oh,
wanna, diba? It's a different thing, and it really nakakasal. So parang it really hurts. Ganon.
maybe education or informing others more. Like maybe you can use nga your social media to really
Yeah,
talk about your platform and your craft more. So people won't get
definitely.
a wrong impression then, di ba?
If
And
I
it
may
will be
add,
other. Ah,
Oo.
yes.
if I may add also, parang same sentiments with Chelsea. Parang as a creative working in the Philippines, I'm sure everyone can relate na parang we're generally undervalued. It's really hard to get work
Oo.
here, and it's really
Tama.
hard to meet clients that value what you work. And I
Yeah.
think with the COVID-19 pandemic happening, it gave us an opportunity to kind of reassess the many things that we undervalue ourselves as a studio.
Mm-mm.
Parang, are we giving too much to clients? Are we parang being too friendly? There are ways that we
Finding the
can
Mm,
balance.
maybe balance yung pagiging like, as a business, how does creativity or parang as an architect functioning now, paano natin magiging may improve yung business model natin. Parang
Oo.
nabigyan tayo ng opportunity to correct a lot of those mistakes. Eh. And I think generally clients are more understanding ngayon kasi
Hopefully.
parang yeah, hopefully kasi they see na parang small enterprises are struggling and uh, yung support talaga for local enterprises should be there.
Oo.
super.
Oh my
And when you
God.
compare design and creatives here in the Philippines compared to other countries, they're super acknowledged. Like here, I don't know. People keep thinking it's so easy, but they don't even realize the 4 years of struggle, the 4 years
Oo.
of studying the craft in order to do something that easy. They don't really realize that. So I really want to be more out there in also educating people about how design
Oo.
works, because it's the sad truth here in the Philippines. A lot of people really don't know much about it.
Actually, going to our next question, medyo similar siya. What are the hybrids that you see emerging in your industry, mga trends and all of that? Kasi we've noticed all of these things going on. So what is new right now in the industry? And are you merging these styles or techniques that were looked at separately before, or are you still in your own thing? Robert, maybe you wanna talk about that?
Um, so again, the things that we're working on is like, yun nga, yung parang this online thing is really something
Mm-mm.
to contend with. Um, but frankly, yung I'll be very frank.
Oh,
I'm 56 years old. I've been in the industry for so long. So I completely understand what Chelsea and everybody else is so much younger than me. And yes, it's actually a designer's, it's a Filipino designer's journey
oo.
na you have to struggle parang, and you're right, you have to, as Chelsea is saying, na parang she has to do more marketing, and then kapag nakilala ka na at kapag nakilala na yung work mo and the excellence of design, then you have more leverage with clients,
Mm-mm.
in terms of money, in terms of design. So it really, actually, it's a journey of designers, and frankly, not just Filipino designers, even foreign. I'm sure like Patrick, no, Patrick has an incredible name already, and that's why he has foreign clients. It's really a journey, and then part of that journey is really establishing your name and
Mhm.
your work. Then you can get leverage. Does that make any sense,
Oh,
Chelsea?
yeah.
Yes, definitely. I'm just right now enjoying the process, even if it's really hard. You just have to enjoy the grit,
Mm.
the
Oo.
grind and
And
everything,
I
because
think
it's something you could always look back to. So
Yeah.
when you're like
Continuable.
5 years from now, I'd remember this day, and I remember all the things that I'm doing. So it really holds you.
It's more like 15 years, the journey.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think it's also
Yoko na.
it's also about I
Yes,
think
Pat.
it's also about taking a stand.
Oo.
yes.
It's like I until now I've been experiencing client who's lowballing me.
Ay, nako.
Some agencies would actually tell me na, oh, iba-blacklist ka namin, we're not gonna work with you kasi hindi ka pumapayag dun sa budget na, mga ganun.
Oh my
It's always
God.
about, it's mostly about taking a stand eh.
Yeah.
The problem with this thing kasi, because there's a lot of really good designer here who's being controlled by the establishment eh. Kaya hindi umuusad din yung design industry natin kasi ang daming magaling dito na kinukonsente din nila yung mababang bayaran ng like, for example, publishing. Ang daming magaling na artist sa atin would really start sa publishing tapos sobrang liit ang bayad, kinukonsente nila.
Minsan wala pa.
Yeah. I think what I'm most proud about what I'm doing is I never contributed to that eh.
That's good.
Yeah.
Diba? I always yes. And you have to really
we should help each other
Yeah.
professionalize the industry. And that's why we have an organization called Communication Design Association of the Philippines that can help professionalize little by little. We've been doing that with Ilustrador ng Kabataan when it comes to illustration for children's books. So in a way, little by little, we should do that.
yes.
Sorry, our conversation is going.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
But actually, we have a viewer question. This is for all of you, actually. For the budding creatives, what do you think should change in the education system of your industry? Because we're talking about how people, a lot of designers are being lowballed because of this, because of the clients and all. So, should it start in the education, or do we have to learn it all? How do you guys think we should attack this as designers or creatives?
I think the education system should change. Like I didn't actually graduate from college because like I don't really believe in the education system. Ba't natin pinapayagan yung education system natin na yung matututunan mo lang sa school hindi naman ginagamit sa industry, 'di ba? Parang kinonsinti na natin yun na yung tinuturo ng school, hindi naman natin napapakinabangan after college, 'di ba? We should demand more sa school. Like ako, nakikita ko karamihan, like I really respect a lot of teachers, but in our country for some reason, yung mga nagiging teacher karamihan yung mga undecided sa career. I can't make it as someone in the industry, I'd rather wanna teach. Or a lot of schools are actually employing teachers that aren't practicing. Like for example, designer. You have designer instructors sa school, pero they're not practicing designer naman, di ba? And a lot of the things that are happening then in the design industry, you have a lot of these bloggers, di ba? They would talk about the design, pero they don't actually practice the craft, di ba? Sa web design na lang, di ba? 2 years lang na hindi ka nag-web design, wala na nag-atrophy na yung natin. Yung mga tinuturo mo dati, yung mga ginagawa mo dati, hindi mo na siya mapapakinabangan ngayon. Sobrang bilis magbago ng
Sobrang progressive.
Saka yung information, di ba? Yung mga tools, sobrang bilis magbago Like yung sa 4 years mo sa school na yan, pag nakagraduate ka, bago na naman yung gagamitin natin, di ba? And yun yung problem ko kaya nag-quit din ako sa school Like for example, I went to I studied computer in college, di ba? Yung programming language namin, pag graduate mo, hindi naman ginagamit yun sa industry na, di ba? Why would I stay sa school kung ganun, di ba? So yun. It has to be government mandated for me talaga na assess natin yung mapapakinabangan talaga natin after mag-graduate and i-abolish yung mga subject na hindi naman kailangan talaga.
Designers should actually be consulted talaga when crafting a whole new project or program for these students then, which could really help. Go Art, I haven't really heard much, so you can talk about it.
I completely agree kasi parang from experience when I graduated in college and I got into my first job, as in I felt like I didn't go to college for architecture.
Yes.
Parang ang daming mga
Super.
bagay na
Oh my God.
anong gagawin ko
Why are we
dito?
consenting this?
I don't
We're
know how
paying a
to
lot
use
of
this
money. Why
program.
are we consenting this?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So
sobra.
I think schools are having a hard time adapting and changing and parang being more fluid. I think it's a bit too constricted
Mhm.
with the fast-paced energy that the world around us goes by. Schools have to be quick to to adapt and change and train their students to be ready. Uh, to be honest, when I graduated, I had zero knowledge about business. Parang
Yung
that's one
practicality na
thing.
of the work.
Practicality of all the
Wala na.
practice, we had to figure it out by getting bankrupt for at least a year. As in, you had
The
to
hard way.
understand na, yeah, the hard way na parang matututunan mo yung mga bagay na yan pag na-experience mo na yan, pag
Oo.
like nakapag-react ka na to it. Pero wouldn't
Yeah.
it be nice kung yung schools would have sort of
Yes.
like a
That
way to
subject.
prepare people for
Oo,
this
like-
kind of ano?
Totoo.
Super.
So and I think
We don't even know about social media back then, and now we're just really just adapting how it works.
Yeah.
Grabe.
I feel the same way really with arts because in interior design we had to do manual drafting, but eventually when you get into work you don't draft at all. Everything is just done through AutoCAD, through programs and
Yes.
SketchUp. So I learned everything really after college. So sobrang sariling sikap
Mga
and
experience.
the
And that shouldn't
experience
be
and everything.
that shouldn't be normalized, di ba? Na dapat
Yeah.
Kailangan school talaga doon mo natutunan para pag ready ka na sa real world.
Yeah.
Atake na lang.
So
Oo.
nawala ng focus on the technical side. It's this too traditional, I would say. So it really had a hard time adapting afterwards because you're starting from scratch. So you're gonna learn the program from scratch.
So, moving forward, guys. So we sense the struggle and all, but post lockdown, how do you see design in society and creativity changing, or maybe hopefully education? Then, what do you guys think? Maybe Chelsea, you can continue on.
Well, for me, I think that right now everything is going to be more lots of barriers because we really have to be restricted on social distancing, and people are putting more like those acrylic what you call partitions and all. So what about designing for everything to be more inclusive? So I think it's something that we really have to focus more on because right now, how about the people who are actually disabled? How about those people that were experiencing disabilities? Because when you're doing design and right now everything is becoming more restricted, it becomes extra restricted for those people. So right now we need to focus on being it more inclusive and without losing, that social thing. You don't want to lose connections with people. So I don't want to see design to be boring, even if we're doing social distancing. I hope that design becomes more open also without losing that kind of touch with intimacy with other people. And I don't want to see design that's really restrictive, especially for the whole. So right now, we don't get to hear much about the disabled and all of those people. So I'm really thinking about them because they're being more restricted these days.
Oo. I mean, not just the disabled, but also those who actually need to get, let's say, laptops or to upgrade
Yeah,
their
yeah,
wala.
accessibility and
Usually
all.
school yung nagpa-provide nun, di ba? Tapos ngayon, biglang wala
It
na.
gets-
That's another problem that they have to deal with. Diba?
Yeah, for people these days, it's for having restrictions to begin with, even before the pandemic becomes extra restrictive. So we really have to think of people as a whole, and especially here in the Philippines, because it's really lacking.
Oo. Welcome back, Arts.
hello, sorry. We had
No,
some technical issues.
It's
Would you
normal.
like to share? That's another problem, di ba? About you, Art, would you like to share anything about what should we expect or what can be new this post-lockdown?
I think parang may general perception that the pandemic changed a lot about how we design or how we experience places or spaces. Pero I believe na all of those changes have been there all along. Parang people now are more into biking kasi parang na-cut off yung transportation. But there's been bike movements in Copenhagen, in Western countries. There's been a lot of movements in reclaiming public spaces, and that's really not a new thing. When you talk about office spaces, parang some of the changes that people say are it's going to be digital, parang magiging contactless yung mga like when you ride an elevator, you wouldn't really touch anything, or when you go inside, everything's gonna be totally technologically parang uh, advanced. Pero all of those technologies are already around. What COVID-19 kind of did is parang it kind of accelerated all of these changes in happening. So I think in the Philippine context, I highly advocate getting a lot of our labor and materials locally, being more sustainable. Kasi we see imports, we see exports slowing down. You can't really get anything from other countries. It would really make more sense if you get everything from here. And that's when creativity would really flourish kasi you design and develop everything that are homegrown.
On your own. Exactly.
On your own. So parang I think magkakaroon ng parang shift towards that, looking into what we can do in the Philippines and in our context and how we can develop those further. Not really so much about those new changes that people talk about, but more about looking inward and how we can refine what we already have.
Tama. If you can also help a lot of the smaller designers or those who are starting up, if mga collabs ganyan can really work din actually.
Yes.
Interesting. How about you, Patrick? What do you think about it?
I think I like what's happening now with the world. Like we're actually claiming our own identity, diba? For a long time, design has been ruled by foreigners. Like I remember, like Stefan Sagmeister asking why, when you go, to the rest of the world, pare-parehong architecture makikita mo, diba? When it doesn't really apply the local context, diba? And also, he said that without asking that you're actually part of the problem, because for a long time we've been colonized by other countries, diba? And our identity are decided by them. And now, actually, with the project that I'm doing for Dubai, I get to ask a lot of these questions. Diba? We really need to build our own identity, and we can no longer live through hype, diba? A lot of the business that are actually affected during the pandemic are actually a lot of business that actually live through hype, diba? Mga bagay na hindi naman natin kailangan. And you see, like, Kuya Robert is thriving during this pandemic because these are things that we actually need. These are actually things that feed the soul, diba? A lot of these things that get affected, yung mga bagay na pwede naman natin ipagpaliban lang. And hopefully, yung mga nagtatribe dito sa pandemic get supported more, because it's actually evident that these are things that we need more when we go back, diba? And I also want to, like right now with the art world, diba? A lot of galleries are actually affected by it. And for a long time, I have, like, this is also the reason why I don't really show with galleries anymore. For a long time, a lot of artists are actually beholden to galleries, diba? We made art we branded art as something that is actually, a source of livelihood, when it's actually really hard to earn a living as an artist, diba? And now talaga tinitest ka, pag yung work doesn't really resonate with a lot of people, you'll not be allowed to go further anymore, diba?
Mahirap na. So, you have to how you can explore but still stay true to who you are.
Yeah, I think more, like after the lockdown, I hope people would seek truth more. Kasi right now, binubugbog na talaga tayo, yung mga kasinungalingan ng maraming tao. Pinagbabayaran na natin yun, Yung lahat ng, yung mga hindi naman totoo na nangyayari sa, a lot of aspect and the hirap na magsalita. I don't want this to be political, diba? But what's happening in the world right now, pinagbabayaran natin yung mga kasinungalingan talaga. Sinisingil na tayo from global warming to what's actually, happening with politics. So, this we are not going to solve this unless we actually seek the truth, diba? What is the truth in your particular industry? What is good design if you are a designer? What is good teaching if you're a teacher, di ba? Yun yung ano eh, like, we should be, after the lockdown, we should be a society seeking for truth eh. Yun.
Yeah,
Oo.
definitely.
For
Super.
yourself and for others din. Tama. Ikaw naman, Robert, how about you?
Well, so the question is, yung parang design post-lockdown.
Oh, post-lockdown.
Actually, what I wanted to point out was what everybody was saying. Chelsea is talking about inclusivity of people who are differently abled. Arts is talking about sustainability of materials, sourcing locally. Patrick is talking about local talent. Actually, I think as designers, you know, we got into this situation because of greed, because of commercialism, because of bad politics. Now that we're in this situation, we have to think about the world that we really want to live in. We have this
Yes.
opportunity to
Oo.
design this new world of maybe more inclusive nga to people who have not as much as other people. We have to think about sustainability. All of these things we have to think about post-lock. This is our opportunity to create nga this better world, especially for the future. So everybody who said something here, yun, that's design, that's new design, and we're supposed to be able to design that better world because we really did a bad job and that's why we're in this situation
Oo,
right
oo.
now.
Ang ganda
Yeah.
actually, ang ganda ng mga parang siyang
We're all
yung mga all of you said are like pillars na pwede nating i-apply sa new culture natin of design. Actually, may tanong tayo dito from one of our viewers is like, what you guys think about the mass availability of designs eh. Kasi we're talking about uh, everything is everywhere and a lot of it we get exported and all imported, ganyan-ganyan. So with importing, like for example, would think about inclusivity, we're thinking about empowerment other designers and with the what do you call this, the culture. What you guys think about the mass availability of design or the industry as a whole? Anyone can start.
Actually, now everything is actually automated eh. Like
Oh,
before, you
right.
can earn a living by being a web designer. Now these things are being automated, diba? The system can can design a website for you na eh. So that's going to be a problem na we're going to be facing in the future eh. And that's also the reason why I actually shifted to more art and more handcrafted work because it's something that is going to be hard for the computer to do eh. I'd be, mas maging ahead pa tayo sa computer yun eh. It's gonna take a while for an actually sentient computer na magagawa kung ano yung ginagawa natin eh. And I can attest that because I've been doing like programmatic work, diba? And
Oo.
yun. So we should do more work that are like, that has soul, diba? That are handcrafted.
Yeah.
And something that is
Wow.
hard
Oh my
for
God. That's
computer
detailed.
to create, diba? So yeah.
Wow.
That's actually the main motivation why I shifted to analog arts, because it's getting harder and harder to, get a job na puro
Oo.
digital.
Oh, wow. Anybody guys would like to share also their works? Feel free.
Well,
Wants to
actually,
go
I'd
first?
like to agree also with Patrick because it's more authentic. The authenticity is always there. So when it
Oo.
gets too technical, anyone can do it already. So I really appreciate Patrick's standpoint.
Oo.
And you see
Chelsea,
it, eh? You see it every time, eh? When they invented the printing press, makikita mo yung mga calligrapher, they shifted to this hand-coded copper plate. Yung style copper plate, it has like swirly letters.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did that kasi the printing press cannot do really fine lines before, yung copper plate. So yung mga calligrapher, inisip nila, ano ba yung style na magagawa natin na hindi kayang gayahin ng printing press? They did that. So when you had contemporary art, what happened? They invented camera. So painters thought of something na ano ba yung magagawa natin sa art na hindi kayang gayahin ng ng camera,
Challenging
diba?
the norms na, no?
So
Challenging
there's always a struggle between artists and technology, and now this is like like a lot of the work that we're doing are being automated, and we should think of way how to get ahead of the computers.
You see that also with architecture, eh, and interior design. You have a lot of programs that can compute, do computational designs and parang generate forms for you. So parang with that in mind, ano pang point ng architect? So parang as architects or as designers of spaces, you really have to think of ways of how that structure or that place can be unique, and you can tell that by the story of the clients or how you can interpret the brand of clients, how you can apply that in the space that you build, and computers can't do that.
Oo. Actually, arts, maybe you want to show din yung ginawa mo in relation to spirituality, because earlier we were talking about before this one na usually architecture would only think about it now, pang buildings, pang monuments, pang house. But now that you've incorporated, ayan,
so parang,
you want to talk about it?
This one is more like a conceptual exercise. A publication approached us to kind of think about the place of worship and how it can adapt to this pandemic. So parang we had to play around with spacing. So parang obviously places of worship would have less dense people. Hindi na pwede mag-cram yung mga tao. So social distancing in this case is done by rays of light shooting down from the ceiling. So parang all of those markers kind of indicate 3 feet, 6 feet distance in between people. Tapos parang it kind of plays around with not just one specific religion. I'm more biased in thinking I feel more connected to celestial beings or parang the sun. So parang in this case, you have a direct link to the sun through that kind of like oculus in the middle. So parang it's I think architecture can play around with spirituality in a lot of ways through natural light and ventilation. So parang this is one way of interpreting it. And yun, we played around with a lot of natural materials here, like the mound, the concrete thin shell structure that you see here is shaped by a mound.
Wow, my God, that's so good. That's local materials pa, which will really help the industry grow even further pa. Oo. Chelsea, actually, di ba, we were talking about then what do you call this? That you've been doing some other passion projects with exploration. Anything that you want to share?
Actually, it's just more of being more expressive these days and going back to the things that we want to do that we don't have time since we're too worked up. So we just did a few renders on, my partners and I are kind of geeky, so they love going back to their nostalgic way. So as you can see, it's a Gundam. This is done by our really talented designer, Mike. And then we also have other renders of cars, like this one. This is from Initial D. So, just a few passion projects that we like to include. And this one is also from Need for Speed. So, there. So it's really nice that we just have to explore more on those.
Oh, nga. Kakaiba from like interior design and then now your cars.
Yeah. So it's more of on the car rendering side. We want to express also that, interior design is just not on a room, but you have to dive more on each element that's inside there. So with the given space, you don't just have, decorating stuff. You have your cabinets, you have your furniture. So those are things that we want to highlight even more to express that interior design is a whole cumulative aspect. It's a combination of all of those elements. So we just want to break down those pieces and those elements and showcase them in our social media sites.
I hope you still continue that because it will really break the barriers of what the difference between interior design versus interior decorating.
Yes, definitely.
Vloggers din kasi into those things din eh. So
how
can you stand out?
Yeah. So there, I just wanna add to that, to inform people more of design and how we can really shape the world too. And hearing all of our panelists' sentiments, it's like I feel like we're into this kind of dark ages. And then I think we should, explore more. Why don't we go to a
Oo,
Renaissance phase? How about the Philippines going to a Renaissance phase? I think that would be not impossible, right?
anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Oo, tama. No
Yeah.
barriers. How about you,
Yeah.
Robert? Anything you want to share? Like probably, what do you want to share actually? More work mo.
Well, I continue to have fun with Papemel routine
Hindi,
non-stop.
kaya,
And then I'm very grateful to my clients. They allow me
Oh,
to have fun. I know very well they understand that Robert has to have fun so that the work will be good. So these are some of the work from Pape Melruti. And it's not easy. We've been 50 years in the business.
My
And
gosh.
to do production, to do printing is not easy to do in the Philippines because a lot of it is not as professional as Hong Kong. I'm sure Patrick understands that.
oo,
But we make do because we want to help the Philippine economy. So everything in Pape Melrotis, it's Philippine made. So we're trying to make that stand.
tama.
So
I
yun.
love that.
But
Love
I
that.
love what Chelsea said, Renaissance, design
Yeah.
renaissance. Let's
Why
do
not?
that.
Why
I try
not?
to incorporate that na sa
Yeah,
design.
I mean, when you're gonna look back into history and go back to 2020, and then it's gonna be in the history books, like, wow, the Philippines actually boomed in creativity, and creatives are more out there. So I don't think it's impossible for us to achieve that, but it takes a lot of work, obviously. But I think it's really something to be excited for.
We can do that kapag tulong-tulong tayo. Kaya
Yes,
natin yan. Yan ang
yes.
problema.
Actually,
We're
oo.
very Filipinos are incredibly talented, but we just need to get our act together. Di ba, Patrick?
Kayang
Yes.
kaya yan. I think Patrick would like to show one of his AR works as well. Oo. And talk about a little bit about it, Patrick.
Yes. Can we show the textile video?
Patrick, you may actually talk about it if you wish then.
This is actually a project that I was supposed to use for a projection mapping project for this Dubai project that I'm working on. It's supposed to be projected on a sail of the boat that I am designing. It's made with 40 different fabric silhouettes from our local fabric. And the video automatically creates a video composed of textile patterns. Yeah. So it's basically trying to find the common denominator of all the textile patterns of the Philippines. And the common parang frame ng mga textile pattern natin are diamond. There's actually a lot of reasons why it's diamond that I don't think I'm allowed to say it in public. And can we move to, I think, I have a screen where it has a tattoo, an
Oh.
image.
Actually, ang galing kasi it's like what Chelsea said about inclusivity. Na you incorporated a lot of different textile designs and not just focused on one. Actually, galing nun. Ang galing. Actually, it gave me a SpongeBob SquarePants vibes. So una.
Yeah. And this one is actually I'm exploring with augmented reality. I think right now the biggest things that's happening in the design and art world is augmented reality.
Yeah.
So we're finally merging, finally bridging art and design. So yeah,
Wow.
it's not there yet, and still has to mature to a point now we can actually freely execute artworks without any compromise. But this one is actually something that I've been doing as well, like how to create digital artworks on the fly using your phone lang.
Yeah. Actually, to add,
And this one,
I'll say you go.
and this three photos, the left is the lamp that I designed. It's actually my attempt to translate most of my analog work into digital, because now I've been seeing like a breakthrough in like gaming and online computing, and the kids of today is actually, we're raising a generation that actually buys digital
Totoo.
products. So yeah,
Totoo.
I've been actually trying to adapt to that change as well, and this is one of the fashion that I'm experimenting. And
Love
the third
it.
image is actually the main visual for this video that I'm creating for my installation work. It's basically, well, the directive of Miss Marian, who's actually advised Marian is actually advising me on the project, is she wants something that looks like tattoo. But the problem is we just recently have Moana, and they actually use tattoo as the main motif of the visual effects. And I don't want people to giggle while they're you know seeing the installation art, and constantly saying that they're reminded of Moana. So I had to think of a better implementation of tattoo. And I'm always fascinated with our goldsmithing culture in the Philippines, when
Oo.
Filipinos usually used to do everything in gold. May makikita ka sa Ayala Museum ng mga
Yes,
belts,
I actually
and
remember.
kung ano-anong damit na gawa sa ginto. So that's basically my nod. And I'm actually working on a short film na yun yung visual guide ng entire video. So, yeah.
Thank you guys for sharing your work. And we do have one last question for our audience. From Maud, asking, what motivates you in these trying times? Oo.
Wow.
Oh, hard question.
Very hard.
Emotional question.
Oh, syempre. Ganun talaga. So, who wants to speak up first?
I think I can start siguro.
Okay,
The
go
mere
ahead.
the mere idea that we're all here, be present and showing people that creativity can still live. That's very important in these trying times because people need hope. Eh. And parang we're one of the few privileged ones who can continue what we love doing. A lot of our safe spaces now have closed down. Dito sa Escolta pa lang, you
Oo.
see the landscape changing. A lot of our friends here have closed up shop kasi business is really slowing down, and it's really a hard time to just be normal. And I think as creatives now, we have a responsibility to try to change things for the better, but also speak out whenever there are injustices happening every day. We have to speak out and look for the truth. Yun nga sabi ni Patrick kanina. We have to everything right now is political. It's really hard to not be political in this landscape, but we have to speak out pag nakikita natin na may maling nangyayari. And I think that motivates me to continue and try to at least survive. Kasi the mere fact na surviving is really a step towards change.
Basic need pa. Tama, tama. Actually, so this has been quite an insightful discussion. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we end this session?
I just like to add that the thing that really also motivates me these days are actually the challenges itself, and being sometimes belittled. It makes me more challenged. It actually motivates me more because you see the problem even more. So that's one thing I want to keep focusing on, is just you keep motivated even though you're not inspired. It's hard to say things that like if someone belittles you or because of your art or because of what you're doing. It's hard to say that you're not affected, but that those little failures
Keep
like
pushing
stay
you.
with you. Yeah, those little failures aren't going to define you. And especially for young artists and artists that are starting off, it's not the failure that really defines you. It's just what you do with it, and it's how you handle all of these things that are happening. And it's also really difficult that people are being challenged with their work and having, problems at the same time, especially during a pandemic. So there are underlying problems to begin with. So
Oo.
it's good that I just want to speak out for also interior designers to just take it easy and don't stop creating, and don't stop pushing forward. And as we know, we're kind of underdogs, so we have to really push
Keep
forward
going.
for our purpose. Yeah, and our profession has to be more up there. So it's a real challenge, but it's a real motivation for me as well.
Aw. I hope that inspires a lot. How about you, Patrick? What can you say about this whole thing?
Yeah. I just want to encourage people to keep on trying. Like if you see my work now, like you think that it's great or whatever, diba? This is
Mm-mm.
actually a product of something that I have experienced in the past. Like in 2008, I actually just started freelancing. And
Mm-hmm.
my first company was from the US. And it was during the recession.
Wow.
And
Mm,
this is basically what happened to me right now. Like I lost jobs. I had to move out of my, condominium unit and move to Pampanga because the rent is cheaper there. And
Wow.
I left a lot of my things in my old apartment because I wasn't able to pay my final rent. Yung mga certificate ko dati, it was so hard for me to find like a day job or
Oh.
secure a visa because my certificate was left in my old apartment. And this is the
Wow.
product of it eh. I was scarred by that time eh, na nahirapan akong to earn a living. And I'm sure you're experiencing this right now eh, but I
That's a
hope
lot of our
this
viewers.
yeah,
this changed you too as well eh, to really really evaluate on what you're lacking and really try to branch out into any other creative pursuit, because one pursuit is not enough eh. You have to
definitely.
arm yourself with a lot of different
A lot.
skills so the next time that this happens again, you are prepared. 'Di ba? And that
Super.
happens to me eh. And I'm sure, I hope this motivates you for the better, 'di ba? Na wag kang
Oo.
matakot or alam mo yon, sumuko dito sa nangyayari
Frustrated.
na to eh. And hopefully the same way that it affected me, it affected you the same way as well eh. And
Oo.
I'm sure, 'di ba? Like we're talking about the Renaissance, 'di ba? And I'm sure we Filipinos are fighters eh. And that's always gonna be us, 'di ba? Like eventually
Yeah,
after nito, alam mo yon, sana meron tayong like
Nag-unlock tayo ng level.
oo, ma-unlock
yeah,
natin yung level talaga, and we're
godlike
hungry
or
to
ano.
to fight and to really you know, change
Oo.
this industry of ours for the better. So yun. I hope
Oh,
this
feeling ko naman
what's happening right now
tao.
produce more people like me.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hope for the best, di ba?
Love
Ikaw
it.
naman, Arts. What can you say? Any final thoughts?
I guess for creatives in general, uh, pinaka-basic siguro, wag mag-work without contracts, always
Mm-hmm.
work with down payments,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
mga ganun.
No,
been
practice.
there, been that.
I think kailangan nyo nang ayusin yung business side of handling things.
Oo.
Living in general now is really difficult, pero keep in mind na this is not permanent. This is just a small part of a bigger picture, and the bigger picture has a lot of things in store for you. And kailangan mo lang talaga lakas ng loob and mag-survive. Try to do what you can to survive and get through this so that you can create more when all of this is over. I think that's the most important thing to leave this with.
That's so nice. How about you naman, Robert? Last but not the least.
Well, I love what Patrick was saying. The story of Patrick is so inspirational, and
Mm,
it's
I
true.
agree.
Totoo yun. It's very very true. What I would say is, though it at times it may seem difficult, but do try to stay positive.
Tama.
Creativity and imagination will never go out of style.
Have fun
Um,
ba, di ba?
have fun pa rin and be passionate. Always remember why you wanted to be a designer and artist in the
Yes.
first place. And then take good care of yourself, because that's you can't do anything if you think you if you if you don't take good care of
Mm,
yourself. So
Yes.
stay positive, and
tama.
then let's all, tulong-tulong, we can get through this.
Kaya natin. Oo, tama. Actually, to sum things up nga, what we could learn from all of our panelists, na let's be more inclusive then about our designs. We have to step out of our comfort zone and not just stick to one, but explore many things. But at the same time, let us also support our homegrown roots by also knowing ourselves, our own identity, our own styles, as well as helping other our local businesses out there. And of course, to always stand your ground, know when to say no, know your worth, kumbaga, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful, beautiful discussion, guys. And before we end tonight's episode, we actually have the ASUS Philippines commercial product PC product marketer Ron Mariana joining us. And once again, I am Misha, your host. Ron, hello.
Hi everyone, good
Hi,
evening.
Ron.
Hi guys, so I was
Hello,
listening
hello.
at the back end or at the backstage, and I really learned a lot, realized a lot of things, especially now that we are on a pandemic and a current lockdown. So won't keep this long. Thank you guys, to Patrick, to Chelsea, to Arts and Robert.
Thank
Congratulations, guys. Thank you so
you.
Thank
much.
Good job.
you.
That was a very great discussion, and also I would like to take this opportunity as well to thank Misha and the Adobo team,
And the
the team,
viewers,
and of course, definitely the
yeah.
viewers who've witnessed this fruitful discussion for tonight. So, as mentioned, I would like to thank Adobo Magazine and the team behind it for making this happen. Because as just also want to share to everyone, we have started, I think, around June or July for the webinar sessions partnering with Adobo. So, again, thank you for all those who've shared their thoughts as well in the comment section, for all those who've asked and wanted to learn more from our panelists. But just to also remind everyone, we also have here the ASUS Pro Art Studio Book, which is an agile mobile workstation, perfect for the creative industries such as Patrick, Chelsea, Arts, and Robert, and the rest of the people watching here tonight. You may check out our ASUS Philippines e-store,
Click
Shopee
on
and Lazada. Yes, Shopee and Lazada to get your to get the Asus Pro Art Studio book, the perfect choice for the on-the-go creators out there. Yeah, so you can create anytime and anywhere. All right,
Oh, don't
so
forget the hashtags.
don't forget the hashtags. And again, so since I believe today is a 9-9, so a lot of you would be doing
Oh,
your online shopping
may time
or
pa kayo.
Bumili
yes,
na ako actually.
for sure
Ayun.
after
Fire.
this. So after this talk, you'll get your phones already or you log on to Shopee. So
Ayan.
don't forget that we have our promo right now. The ASUS Expert Series is offering free shipping and exclusive discounts on Shopee that will be valid until September 30th. This goes for all our ASUS Pro Art Studio books and Expert Book B9 series. We also support all major credit card holders with a 12 months installment for 0% interest for our offline purchases. Yeah, so but before we finally end, again, I would like to thank everyone. Please don't forget to like and share our official Facebook page. That's ASUS Philippines and ASUS for Business, and follow us on our Instagram at ASUS PH.
And add
Don't
to
forget don't forget to add the card as well and share this video as well to more of your friends by
Oh, yes.
using our official hashtags for tonight. That's hashtag ASUS Pro Art Studio Book, hashtag ASUS Pro Expert Book. And then get a chance as well to win an exclusive merch from ASUS Philippines. I don't know if you're seeing some merch here. Again, if for all of our viewers here, if you are still hungry for more webinar series like this one, tune in to our
Naku.
upcoming ASUS Pro Art sessions, where we will be featuring the latest and agile workstation, the ASUS Pro Art Studio Book series. Yeah, and so we will be starting off with hopefully this month, but we have here Chelsea, who's part of the first ASUS Pro Art Studio Book, the Arcanum Design Studio. So once again, thank you everyone. Let's have a sneak peek of the ASUS Pro Art sessions. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Salamat.